Nuclear War Survival Skills. Chapter 1, Continued Myths and Facts, page 23. Facts. Statements that the U.S. and the Soviet Union have the power to kill the world's population several times over are based on misleading calculations. One such calculation is to multiply the deaths produced per kiloton exploded over Hiroshima and Nagasaki by an estimate of the number of kilotons in either side's arsenal. A kiloton explosion is one that produces the same amount of energy as does 1,000 tons of TNT. The unstated assumption is that somehow the world's population could be gathered into circular crowds, each a few miles in diameter, with a population density equal to downtown Hiroshima or Nagasaki, and then a small Hiroshima-sized weapon would be exploded over the center of each crowd. Other misleading calculations are based on exaggerations of the dangers from long-lasting radiation and other harmful effects of nuclear war. Myth: blindness and a disastrous increase of cancers would be the fate of survivors of a nuclear war. Because the nuclear explosions would destroy so much of the protective ozone in the stratosphere that far too much ultraviolet light would reach the Earth's surface. Even birds and insects would be blinded. People could not work outdoors in daytime for years without dark glasses and would have to wear protective clothing to prevent incapacitating sunburn. Plants would be badly injured and food production greatly reduced. Facts. Large nuclear explosions do inject huge amounts of nitrogen oxides, which means gases that destroy the ozone, into the stratosphere. However, the percent of the stratospheric ozone destroyed by a given amount of nitrogen oxides has been greatly overestimated in almost all theoretical calculations and models. For example, the Soviet and the U.S. atmospheric nuclear test explosions of large weapons in 1952 to 1962 were calculated by Foley and Ruderman to result in a reduction of more than 10% in total ozone. C.M.H. Foley and M.A. Ruderman, Stratospheric Know from Past Nuclear Explosions. Journal of Geophysics, RES 784441-4450. Yet observations that they cited show no reductions in ozone, nor did ultraviolet increase. Other theoreticians calculated sizable reductions in total ozone, but interpreted the observational data to indicate either no reduction or much smaller reductions than their calculated ones. A realistic simplified estimate of the increased ultraviolet light dangers to American survivors of a large nuclear war equates these hazards to moving from San Francisco to sea level at the equator, where the sea level incidence of skin cancers, which means seldom fatal, is highest, about 10 times higher than the incidence at San Francisco. Many additional thousands of Americans American survivors might get skin cancer, but little or no increase in skin cancers might result if, in the post-attack world, deliberate suntanning and going around hatless went out of fashion. Furthermore, almost all of today's warheads are smaller than those exploded in the large weapons tests mentioned above. Most would inject much smaller amounts of ozone-destroying gases, or no gases, into the stratosphere, where ozone deficiencies may persist for years. And nuclear weapons smaller than 500 kilotons result in increases due to smog reactions in upper tropospheric ozone. In a nuclear war, these increases would partially compensate for the upper level tropospheric decreases, as explained by Julius S. Chang and Donald J. Wubbles of Lawrence Liverpool National Laboratory. Myth: unsurvivable nuclear winter surely will follow a nuclear war. The world will be frozen in only 100 megatons, which means less than 1% of all nuclear weapons are used to ignite cities. World enveloping smoke from fires and the dust from surface bursts will prevent almost all sunlight and solar heat from reaching the Earth's surface. Universal darkness for weeks, sub-zero temperatures, even in summertime, frozen crops, even in the jungles of South America, worldwide famine, whole species of animals and plants exterminated, the survival of mankind in doubt. Facts: unsurvivable nuclear winter is discredited theory that, since its conception in 1982, has been used to frighten additional millions into believing that trying to survive a nuclear winter is a waste of effort and resources, and that only by ridding the world of almost all nuclear weapons do we have a chance of surviving. Non-propagandizing scientists recently have calculated that the climactic and other environmental effects of even an all-out nuclear war would be much less severe than the catastrophic effects repeatedly publicized by popular astronomer Carl Sagan and his fellow activist scientists, and by all the involved Soviet scientists. Conclusions reached from these recent realistic calculations are summarized in an article called Nuclear Winter Reappraised, featured in 1986 summer issue of Foreign Affairs, the prestigious quarterly of the Council on Foreign Relations. The authors, Starley L. Thompson and Stephen H. Schneider, are atmospheric scientists with the National Center of Atmospheric Research. They showed that on scientific grounds, the global apocalyptic conclusions of the initial nuclear winter hypothesis can now be relegated to a vanishing low level of probability. Their models indicate that in July, when the greatest temperature reductions, end of page.